for the nation. This program is suitable for general viewing.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very good evening. My name is Faisal Kassim and welcome to the live roll. Welcome to yet another electrifying, amazing, beautiful conversation that, of course, I am personally as the host looking forward to. And this is coming so timely in the wake of just recently, earlier on during the week, we had an interview by the former Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, talking about some few things, spewing the beans basically about the political situation in the country. And of course, a couple of days later, which was today, the former NAC Kenya rebranded to become the People's Liberation Party, right? PLP. In another yet electrifying event, a lot of political statements made earlier on today with purple being their color. So tonight we are talking about the uptake of the young generation in the new political space, looking also into the extrajudicial killings and some of the gaps that have been in existence over the past few years within the political space. And to discuss about this amazing topic tonight, I'm joined by two great gentlemen. From my far end is Mzee Hassan Kulundu. Thank you so much for making time.
Pleasure.
And of course you have Sheikh Wetu, Sheikh AbuHamza from the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Karibuni sana, gentlemen.
Shukran.
Jazakumullah khair. So basically, just to set the tone for the whole conversation this evening, I'd like to maybe start with you, Sheikh Yusuf AbuHamza. You have been in a number of all these events, you know, going there and going there as a religious leader to officially just welcome the prayer. And I'm sure from that you've interacted with some of these leaders, and also in your line of work you interact with them from day-to-day life. From your interactions and looking at the situation in the country, how would you gauge the current political situation in the country?
Faisal, I would like to say one thing, that where we are politically as a country, I think Kenyans are politically mature. Our democracy is coming to maturity, given the nature of information that our people have, because our people are well informed. Speaking of all the classes of people, from the mama mbogas to the youth, to the boda, every other conversation out there mostly is about the information they have in regard to politics. And people are so much inclined as to starting talking as early as now about 2027. Like for the youth of this country, I can say that the youth have also matured politically, because what we saw happened last year was all about the ability of the youth to mobilize, and also their ability to vent what they think that is their rights being trampled upon. And also we were also shocked to see how much information those who we thought might not be having information, because Faisal, we're talking about not the youth who are academically elite or informed, but we're talking of the youth who are even at school. Those who are still at school, that is maybe the upper, we're talking about the secondary school, the information they have and about the ability of what they're speaking about. This is how mature I can say we have come.
Thank you, Sheikh Hassan. Sheikh Hassan, I mean, you are a seasoned communication expert, and of course, in your line of work, you've consulted for some of these people, and of course, you've seen what is happening. Yes. What do you tell of the current political situation in our country right now?
Well, thank you, Faisal. Yes, true. Yes, I've been around for some time, and I can say without fear of contradiction that the political situation right now in Kenya is toxic. It's very toxic.
Why so? How would you say that?
when from where I sit, I check, when I see out there, people, every Kenyan is angry. There's a lot of anger. Let's start with the noise about SHA. It's not working, despite assurances that it's working. People are complaining. You and I, people who are in communication, we deal with the people. In fact, we are witnesses. We should see what happens.
Yes.
2, just the other day, and it affects young people especially, the courts have stopped the university funding, isn't it?
Yes, the funding model.
Yes, the funding model, isn't it? There's a lot of disarray in our universities presently. And these universities are young people. Look at that constituency. Let us look at the recent agitation of the issues of abductions, whatever, correct? All those things are piling up. And when they pile up, they've made the situation so toxic for politics.
But are those situations political, or these situations actually can be seen in their own purview, in their own context? For example, SHA, would you want to look at it politically, or would you want to look at it medically or professionally? How do you want to look at it?
You see, at the end of the day, SHA is a policy made by the political class. Remember that this is a policy that came to parliament. So it's the politicians who passed the law to have SHA and get it from NSSF, okay? I mean, NHIF.
Yeah.
So everybody is going to blame the political class.
The political class.
Exactly, okay? And politics determines who gets what and what. So these are the issues that are happening. And if history we can learn from it, if history is a good teacher, I can compare this situation right now, the anger in the country, with the issue that were in Tunisia that brought about the Arab Spring. Must remember that the Arab Spring actually started in Tunisia.
Yes.
The setting on fire of that young man called Mohamed Bouazizi.
Yes.
Okay? And you see, let us remember the short-term issue that brought about Bouazizi. Bouazizi was a university student, a graduate, but he had no job. So he became a hawker. So he was hawking in the streets, just the way like the Kanjo did. So the council or the Kanjo of Tunisia, of that town, they came and arrested him because he was hawking vegetable groceries in the wrong place. Then they arrested him. Then, okay, fine, I agree, I've been arrested. So while he was under arrest, the person who was in charge of the team, of the council team, a woman, slapped him, even when he was already changed. So he felt so bad. So he set himself on fire. So when he was taken to hospital, the last words he spoke, they asked him, why did you do this? In fact, he spoke to people who came to see him. Why did you set yourself on fire? He said that I had expected that at least a woman should be able to show compassion. You can imagine that I was chained already, but the person who kept on slapping me when I'm chained is a woman. Society is no longer what you expected. You get the point?
Yes.
Those are the issues that we're talking about here.
And recently, of course, since time immemorial, we've seen the youth participation in politics, but I don't think we have seen a large number of youth coming out and actively wanting to take part in the civic space and the whole political game more in their numbers, more than this time. Of course, something that was instigated by the Finance Bill of 2024, right, which brought about this whole Gen Z spring, and we've seen a couple of individuals rising from that situation. Notably, we've seen the likes of Kasmel Makore, we've seen the likes of Morara Kebaso, we've seen the likes of Hanifa, we've seen the likes of a number of youth who have come. As I said, this is not the first time. We had the likes of Matiba, we had the likes of Babu Namomba, we had a number of them. And that's the thing. So I'm going to start with you, Sheikh AbuHamza. Why do you think all of a sudden this number of youth are actively taking part both on social media and on the ground and in other platforms? They are actively taking part in these political activities of this country right now.
Let me start from the beginning, Faisal, that the leadership that we have currently and the past, majority or many of them were young people at one point in time. Some were university leaders, and some went into politics very early on as young people and made it to parliament. But for this leadership, when they made it to Parliament or at the leadership level, at the policy level, something went wrong, because the changes that the country have been yearning for, with a new crop or a new... Remember, whenever we go for elections, sometimes half of the parliament doesn't come back. We normally have changes on that. New faces are coming in. We are seeing new people coming in. Yeah. And some of those who are coming in, what I'm saying are, they're coming from the civil society, they're coming from the churches, they're coming from the mosque. They're people, when they're out here, they were people of integrity. There were people who have, the citizenship had a lot of hopes with them. As soon as they reach there, as soon as they're at the top, something goes wrong. It's like they get muzzled in the same system. They become either corrupt, they become part of the rots that people have been fighting. So I think this is what has boiled in the young people currently, in the new generation. The anger that is coming up with them is that they want to revolutionize. They want to transform the notion of the young people, that we have the ability, we have all the information, and we know what we want and where we want to go. I think this is what is now carrying the young people. This is what is making the agitation.
They're basically seeing systems not working.
Exactly, the system. And actually, when you see that they are leaderless, they are everything less, because they don't trust or they don't take upon those whom we sent there. And I'm talking even some were young people, like I told you, university students and something like that. But again, the youth are saying all these people have a fight, because they see that these people, once they reach there, the message changes. They are being sent, but the message changes while they're there. So this is why the young people are seeing it now. They want to revolutionize. They want to transform their thinking, that now if we are taking people there, we want people who are accountable. We want people whom we can measure what they are doing, so that, remember, young people want practical solutions. They want something tangible, something that they can be able to identify with currently, right now, not something that they're being told will be held by day. Exactly. They want something now and
Interesting. Hassan, do you share the same sentiments with?
In fact, I'll add on that and say that, unlike the youth of yonder, you know, we must agree that even, I remember His Excellency President William Ruto was a young man.
Yes.
In fact,
very vibrant one.
In fact, he was youth for country for 92. I remember when we were at university. And I think we were at the university at the same time with him. We were slightly ahead of me at university.
Yeah.
And you remember the youth for Kanu, 92. He was a young person. And they played good politics. They really played very tough politics at that particular time.
Yeah.
But the youth of now, the present now, they have got something that the youth of yonder did not have. The information super highway. They have got everything at their disposal.
Now, my question that I wanted to ask is this. If you say, even the current leadership right now, at some point they were young people, they got to some of this position while they were young, but again, the moment they got there, then they did not live up to expectation, then is the problem the leadership or the system?
It's the system, exactly the system.
Okay.
And the reason now we are talking about what you call an intergenerational gap, it's the system. Now, the other day I listened to...
what exactly in the system is wrong?
The system. The system is built on conservative values of, or ideas of yesterday. But these young people are in a totally different world because of the ability of the information superhighway, correct? So you find that the system is trying to do catch up. And these young people, they don't share the same values.
Please help us understand for the sake of our viewers again.
Yes. So this is what we call what we call an intergenerational gap. Between the two. Okay. So this gap here, you'll find that there is no convergence, and unless something is done, so that they can be found to be speaking on the same page, we are going to. That's why you're seeing this.
So is this the gap between the individuals working within the same structure, or how exactly is this gap then being formed?
In fact, you correctly said so, Because when you started, you commented by saying that we have had young people,
Yes.
for instance, like Babu Wino.
Yes.
We even have PK Salasia,
Yes.
who are young people.
Sakaja was young.
Sakaja was a
When he
young
started
man.
politics, even
the other
running as a
day,
young
isn't
man.
it,
Yeah.
But you see, despite being young, when they came to this system, they cannot think like young people. They have to think the way the system is. So that's the issue now. So there's a gap between the two, and that's why you're having that problem. So like, for instance, the other day, there was a call which was saying that, which I also agree, that young people should respect their elders. Because you remember those conversations where young people, they say very unpalatable things to the president, in fact, in the face, and other leaders, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we grew up, we could not fathom that kind of how we can dress down our leaders.
Yes.
Somebody in leadership is somebody to be respected.
Respected, yeah.
And even in the Quran says that obey and respect Allah, His messengers, and those
leaders.
people in authority over you.
Yeah.
However they are, respectful in authority. This is how we guys were taught. We are taught. These young people,
No.
they don't see that. You get the point, eh?
No, but
But we
speaking
can't
truth
blame
to
them.
power, Sheikh maybe will give us the fatwa here. Is speaking truth to power disrespectful?
It's not actually.
How you
that
do,
is a
how
teaching
you
of the
speak
Prophet.
truth to power is the problem. Yeah.
But what we're saying is that respectfully correct or speak to the power. Respectfully, that is the word that is being used.
Yes.
In a way that is not annoying, and in a way that is restorative, so that you do not disconnect, but you restore the relations that has been there.
Don't you think it's a matter of perception? Because, I mean, the older generation, and I'm here speaking as a person who is in the gap.
Yes.
A person who connects well with the millennials because I'm a millennial myself,
Yes,
and a
yes.
person who connects very well with the Gen Zs because I interact with them majorly.
Yes.
And the question then is, because I understand the language of both the millennials and the Gen Xers and the baby boomers,
Yes.
and also understand the language of the Gen Zs.
Yes, yes.
So the question that I want to ask here, don't you think it's a matter of perception in terms of communication? The Gen Z can be coming from a very innocent, but because that is the innocence he knows,
Yes.
he's been exposed to.
Yes.
But again, this Gen X or the older millennial does not understand that.
Exactly.
So that's why he finds it disrespectful.
Exactly. So you're spot on. In fact, that's the generation gap we're talking about, isn't it? Perception. Those of us who are of this generation, this is how we see it. But for them, they don't see it that way, because they have never been told that. Even if you have to speak truth to power, you have to speak in a certain language. For them, it's okay. And in fact, many of them have said that we've learned from the
same.
you've learned from you. That's how they actually are able to get back at us, isn't it?
Interesting.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes, Faisal. You see, we created a notion, an idea that has been in our heads for a very long time, that these young people are leaders of tomorrow. A tomorrow that never came. We kept on giving them hopes, because to them they were just the bogies. They were just to be carried. We carried on with this notion every time that their time has not come, that maybe the time. But now what is happening is that they are grabbing the opportunity that is there because of the disconnect, because they are feeling that the leadership, the older generation, does not understand them. The older generation does not speak the same language with them. They have aspiration. You could see from the faces of the young people, especially the desperation that was there, that a young person would say he's a graduate but he has no job, and not only that he has no job, but the hope of getting that job is also not
there.
Yeah, so you could see that from their faces actually.
So let me just ask, hypothetically speaking, if the older generation, the current crop of leadership, would be able to provide the jobs for these young people and be able to provide an environment where these young people's needs would be met, do you think that would be enough to kind of hold the young people from taking part in active politics?
Not just exactly that, isn't it? In fact, the most important thing is not just to provide the issue, to provide those the things that are like jobs and whatever, isn't it? You have to bring what you call an understanding between the two, right? Even us during our time, there were no jobs, okay? But we don't go about insulting everybody. We were taught that even if you don't have a job, be patient enough, you'll do what? You'll get to eat, you'll get to eat. Yes. So there was a way of communicating between the generations so that there is that harmony, despite the fact that we have got two different things. So like for instance, with us in our generation, we lived under that time-tested English saying that spare the rod, spoil the child. So every time, discipline was that. We are now we came into a liberal environment where you say that in fact discipline by spanking or caning or kiboko
is subject to
is a violation. In fact, you say this in human treatment, isn't it? So these young people, they cannot fathom them being corrected in such a manner that we people were corrected.
Are you saying there's no hope for intergenerational dialogue or intergenerational coexistence in the space?
Maybe there will be. We are not saying that it's completely lost. But again, the thinking and the notion that the youth are coming with that everyone else is not fit. Everyone else cannot tell them. I think that is the most dangerous thing that we are saying, because they will be losing a lot of opportunities. Because if it's a battle of the generations, I think perhaps they might be directionless because they need a direction. When you aim at one point, then you have to shoot. But you cannot keep on aiming aimlessly without having a decision to make. So I think that is where the young people are. They're aiming, yes, they have a goal, they have goals, and they have a destination to go. But again, now it's like they're not reaching where they want to go. They're not putting together, packing, especially for people to understand this is exactly where they want to be and this is what they want currently.
But I think they've just started. They started 2023 with the 2024 with the finance bill.
Yes.
And then from that now they started regrouping and grouping and grouping and having conversations. I think they've just started. But anyway, now moving into another just subtopic into that. It's a call that we had from some leaders, especially after the 2022 general elections. And of course, I'd like both of you to weigh in on this. And do you think it's about time Kenya to undergo the universal periodic review?
In fact, yes. In fact, this year, it's not even the time. This year, Kenya will be undergoing the UPR review. This year for the year for Kenya. And already a number of civil society organizations and other stakeholders have already made submissions. I think if many of them have done. Even we, the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, SUPKEM, through the joint initiative, there's a program called GISRA, Joint Initiative for Religious Strategic Religious Action, which is a program that has been funded by the courtesy of the partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the government of the Netherlands. And this program is being implemented in almost 7 countries present in GISRA. And under it in Kenya, we found that since this is the year for the peer review for UPR for Kenya, we felt that this is an issue that should bring in, and especially coming at a time when we have had this press issue of abductions and extrajudicial killings, because it's a human rights issue. It's a human rights issue, and we realized that we did a research under GISRA, at SUPKEM and other partners under the GISRA, including Faith to Action and other partners in GISRA. So the research we did, initially when we did the research, in fact even the abductions had not started. But we did the research because at that particular time we found that there are laws in this country which were passed by our very own parliament. But if you look at the upshot of those laws, they are the ones actually encouraging these abductions.
Are they?
And specifically, in fact, we don't even have to go far. We can cite the laws themselves. The Security Laws Amendment Act of 2015. In fact, it came into force in 2015. Ideally, remember that it was an omnibus piece of legislation. And I think the most iconic reminder of that particular legislation was remember when the senior counsel, James Orengo, that time was in Senate, when he was saying that I'm warning you revolutions or governments eat their own children.
The system eats its own people.
He was actually debating on the same law, warning Kenyans, let us not pass this law because it will come to eat us. But you see, at that particular time, the reason the law was being passed, the Security Laws Amendment Act, was to target terrorism. Okay?
Yeah.
Especially terrorism that time was associated with Islam. So they made very radical changes to the National Intelligence Security NIS Act, the Prevention of Terrorism Act, plus about 21 legislations which were affected by those amendments. One of them was the idea that NIS was empowered to stop, search, arrest, and detain.
Anyway, that they see as a threat to the national
And in
security.
fact, they even added there Part 5 of that amendment, what we call covert operation. And in fact, they use the word that the service has got powers, is authorized to do anything to neutralize any threat to national security. It's there. So when you have got such a blank check, lawyers will tell you, that's what you call a blank check legislation.
Yeah.
And then you give an agency that conducts covert operations powers to arrest, detain. What do you expect?
I mean, yeah, we'd expect chaotic scenes. However, at the same time, the government has come out, including the president. The government has come out and saying that they don't know those people who are doing the abductions or the killings, and they will stop them. Say anyone with information about. I remember at some point the president came out and openly. I don't want to use the word dared, but it's something adjacent to that in terms of the meaning. Anyone with information about any abductions or killings, then they should present it to him about those people.
Very good. Yes. Well, I remember that. I also remember very clear public pronouncements by the highest security organs in our country, in the name of none other than the Inspector General of Police himself, Douglas Kanja, a very good, a very competent police officer. I know him. Okay. And Mohamed Amin, the director of DCI, they came and said that we don't. In fact, I think remember that during the time of Longton, isn't it? They have even appeared in court, summoned in court, where they said that we don't have those people. And even they said that we don't abduct. I have got reason to believe them. In fact, for me at that time, I believed them. But you see, that's the police. Now, later on, and it's in public domain. In fact, some of the things that I've put Honorable Justice Muturi, problems, when his son was abducted, and I remember Muturi wrote a letter, statement to DCI. He thought, can you record a statement? Which he did. His press statement is the same one that he submitted as his statement to the DCI. And he gave an explanation of how his son was abducted and how he was released.
Wow. Chef, if you wanted to weigh in on the matter.
Yes, actually, Honorable Muturi, just from what Hassan is saying, that he talked specifically of NSIS, and perhaps I believe that being a former AG, he's also privy to the laws that exist in this country. And when he was speaking about specifically the NSIS, perhaps he was referring to perhaps some of these laws indirectly that we passed that is being used against Kenyans.
And at that time he was the Speaker of National Assembly.
What I want to say is that
He's a minister.
these issues of abductions, like Hassan said, at the time of enactment of those bills and the laws at that time, actually, majority of Kenyans did not see it as an issue because maybe we Muslims were the people who were bearing the brunt of it, because majority of those who were abducted at that time, majority of those who suffered extrajudicial killings at that time were Muslims, and all that were being made in the names of terrorism, fighting terrorism, and anti-terror laws. But again, now that it's coming home, it's sinking down home now. We've even seen some people who have been arrested of late and charged with terrorism, actually. terrorism within that. That is because of the laws that we have, actually. That's why we are seeing people being charged with terrorism. But for a very long time, that has been associated with Muslims and Islam. And my worry is, at that time, not so many Kenyans were talking about it. Not so many Kenyans saw it as an issue. They did not see it as a problem. But now that it's touching on everyone, we're not saying that it's something that should be condoned, but we're saying that now that it's touching on other Kenyans, now it has become a subject of discussion. Now people are now rethinking about the laws that we passed, rethinking about everything. Maybe perhaps we let it to happen for too long. That's what I'm saying.
Interesting. So I hear you about the extrajudicial killings, and it's something that this administration, I remember the president was campaigning, actually one of the sessions he had at Serena Hotel, he came out clearly and say, under his administration, none of this thing will happen. And he made that pledge, and he kept on insisting that none of this has been happening under him. That's why he even went ahead and did whoever who had the information to come on to come in front and present the information. Right? So he's still there, and we would like to hope and wish and think maybe whoever is doing these are criminals, maybe, because the NS has not pronounced itself on the matter, even after Muturi came out and
the president, I think, in his first days in office, he disbanded a squad that was believed to be maybe was behind Rivayala abductions. He disbanded that squad.
But again, still, we saw other things. We saw Kware, we saw the missing Gen Z protesters, we saw killings, and we saw
as late as last week, there was, I think, about 9 members of the security agencies drawn from both the NIS, and the DCI, were charged in court, where they denied with the, remember, the abduction and the killing of, there were some 2 Asian nationals who were killed under mysterious circumstances in 2022, I think, thereabout. Just for that. They came to court, they have denied, and in fact, they have signed a petition, they have signed one of the petitions that their rights are being violated.
Interesting. So beyond, besides the extrajudicial killings, what are some of the human rights do you think then should be put under review when Kenya is going under this UPR, in your recommendations?
So one of them, that is one of them, because you realize that if you look properly at those laws, and if you read them in their, holistically, you'll discover that one of them was to diminish freedom of religion, belief, and conscience. For instance, under the Securities Amendment Act, the amendments that were created, or that were made on the Prevention of Terrorism Act, I think around Section 12D, which was an addition, we created a law called an offense called radicalization. And radicalization, previously it was not a what? It was not. And if you look at the description of that, an officer or anybody can listen even to a sermon by any religious leader, and if he concludes that that sermon is is a threat to national security, they can do what? They can have them arrested.
To reprimand,
And worst of all, that when you are arrested under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, even including radicalization, because of the words of the sermon you have given, if it's thought to be radical information, according to that act, you can be denied bail. In fact, you can be held in pre-trial detention for 360 days. That's why Mackenzie, Pastor Mackenzie, because the reason why Mackenzie has never had bail, and think now it's almost 200 days since he was arrested, because he has been charged under that particular act. 12D, radicalization.
Interesting. And Faisal, well, under the peer review also, our recommendations also was on the issue of discrimination. Actually, the issue of vetting that the president is trying to address currently. That is part of what we're also recommending, because, but again, right now it's being addressed, but at that time also, because this issue was still also was also coming under the security laws that was there, actually, that introduced vetting for border communities. That is what is there on paper, but again, in reality, is that anybody with a Muslim name will go through the vetting, because I remember somebody told me that from the migration told me that we don't know you. When you call yourself Muhammad Ahmed Ali, we don't know you, because you don't have an ethnic name that we can tie you with. We can say you're coming from a certain region. So unless we see you, unless we vet you, and that is the gist. So that was also part of the recommendation that we're putting to the peer review.
Again, yeah, the president came out and pronounced himself and actually even signed publicly. I think that was in Wajir, when he visited the northeastern region, and gave them as a gift that vetting will be abolished henceforth. So is there still need to review?
There's need to review. I think in the post 2010 constitution, we know that the president cannot just overrule an act of parliament by executive fiat. Remember that vetting that you're talking about, the special vetting, is a provision of
but he can do it under executive orders, can he not?
He can't. He cannot. He must go to parliament, seek amendment of that particular law, the clause under the National Registration Act. Because there's a provision in that act, I think under Section 8, you say that when an applicant for a national ID presents the required form, isn't it? The registrar has got powers to ask for any other information for that person to bring. That's the provision that actually does vetting, isn't it?
Yes.
So now if you are a Muslim, the registrar asks you to bring other information, much more than
the documents
what you're supposed to fill, what you fill in the whatever, in the form, the application form. And then he can even ask you, can you bring extra proof for the information you have filled in that form? And this usually only happens for Muslims. So in law, but in policy, is what you call this is what you call policies, understood but not written. So they know that actually it was meant for that. So even if the president pronounced himself in Wajir, that was that. But the law remains what it is until it's changed.
Then the other thing that I really want us to look at is the place of faith-based actors in all these that you're talking about. Talk of politics, talk of the UPR, talk of the governance of this country. The current president, when he was campaigning to get to this position, he really rode on the backs of the religious leaders. But right now, we have seen the Catholics come out, we have seen some Muslims come out, we have seen a number of different factions within the religious sector coming out. Then the question is then, how much more then can the faith-based actors do to actively take part in the political and the governance process of this country? I'm going to start with the Sheikh Hassan, AbuHamza.
Truly, Faisal, as the situation is, there was a lot of expectations, and given that the president, his campaign rided so much on, it was anchored on religious capabilities and that. So there was a lot of expectations and high hopes from the religious organizations. But again now, given that, it does not mean that calling out the president on what the religious society feels that are the weaknesses or the challenges, because remember that the government is there to be either criticized, and it's there to be corrected, and it's there also to be directed actually where the government is not going correct. So the religious organization feel that there is a need actually to raise our voices. Remember, religious organizations have opportunities, because these are people who sit one-on-one with the president. These are people who the president sometimes listen to. And when the voices are being raised, they just want it to reach to the ear of the president. They're trying to catch the ear of the president by telling him this is not right, this is what should be happening. But again, when they meet on the round table, actually such a discussions are there. Sometimes I think he would also ask them to advise him on what do you think is going wrong in the country. But again, we have a president who people are saying he does not listen correct. Sometimes he listens here, but sometimes he has also other advisors. So this is the situation that we are in. But again, voicing the concerns of the citizenry, I think, is part of what the religious leaders should be doing more.
Yeah. Sheikh Hassan, from outside looking in, looking at the religious leadership and the shuyukh and the pastors and the clergy that we have, what more do you think they can do to try and better the situation?
I think for me, the religious leadership or religious actors, we did what we call a religious rearmament. Previously, we used to have something called moral rearmament.
Yeah.
So we need a religious rearmament in this country. Because as much as our constitution says that Kenya is a secular state, isn't it? The secularity of that says that we don't have a state religion. That's all. But Kenya, we are intrinsically a religious society, a religious country. Even our national anthem itself is a prayer, appealing to the mercy of God. Our preamble invokes the name of the Almighty, irrespective of our different religions. So we need religious actors to take back their positions in mediating, because they have always been arbiters in situations where the government and the governed are in conflict, like we have presently. So we need that. They cannot run away from it. Of late, the other time they were good when they actually supported the president's agenda to come to power. They were good. And there was a lot of optimism. I even remember this time one of the prominent religious leaders of one of the leading and respected religious whatever in this country said that now we have our government upon when on the election of His Excellency the President. We say that now we have our government. Now things have changed. In fact, the other day I was surprised. Archbishop Moheria gave a statement that and he did what religious leaders do, and what even his predecessors did during the Moi presidency. Ndingi Mwana Nzeki was based in Nakuru. Archbishop Okulu, Alexander Muge, Gitari, all of them. They used always here, in fact, in the Muslim Jamia Mosque every Friday. The media used to, the TV camera used to come here to listen to Sheikh Ali Sheikh. And he would give a pronouncement that puts government to check. So the other day I had a Bishop Muria saying that let us stop advertising. How the kind of insults that he received
and the backlash,
this is unprecedented. We cannot continue like this. So the religious leaders should reclaim their position, and Kenyans, all of us, even the Gen Z, we cannot escape from the fact that we are at most a religious organization, a religious country, because when everything else fails,
we go back to religion.
Religion cannot fail, should not fail.
It cannot, it will never.
It cannot.
It cannot, it will never. Yeah, great. Thanks so much, gentlemen. So I'm just going to take parting shots from me as you're wrapping up the conversation tonight. Starting with you, Sheikh Yusuf.
What I would like to say is that there is hope, and the future looks bright despite the challenges that we're having. The generation that will correct is the current generation that we have, the generation that is coming, the Gen Z. This is the generation that we are hoping is going to bring about the change that we are yearning for, and the country will be better.
MashaAllah. Hassan.
Ramadan is coming, it's just around the corner, and Ramadan is a time for self-reflection. Move back, reflect. So as the Muslim community, we go in Ramadan. We want to call upon the entire country. Let us reflect. Let's move back, relook at our situation. Let us try to bring down this tension between the generations, especially the Gen Z, because 2027, if we don't mediate this issue, and the religious leaders should take the first step in mediating this tension between the Gen Z and the older generation. Already I've heard somebody who was saying that the the Gen Zs are preparing themselves to ensure that they outvote the older generation, or even prevent them from voting, because they're the ones who brought this mess. We need to self-reflect.
Yeah, I had people on social media saying, we're going to hide your IDs.
Exactly. In fact, they say they're going to hack into the
IBC system, my
system
goodness.
to erase
their names.
The old names.
the old name.
Others are saying we're going to lock you inside your rooms so that they don't get chances to vote.
Yes.
But anyway, I hope all this is just for fun and on social media. But thank you so much, gentlemen. And all the best with all you're trying to do with Jasra. And you guys are doing great at SUPKEM, representing us and flying our flag high. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much, Faisal.
Folks, and that is how we're calling it a wrap right here, exactly top of the hour, that is 9 o'clock. Thanks so much for keeping it live, Real Talk. Thank you so much for being with us throughout the year. And we shall be officially taking a break for the holy month of Ramadan. And at this time, inshallah, next week we will be praying Tarawih, inshallah. So please remember us in your du'as every time when you're reflecting, when you're making du'as, please remember us. And we will be back after Ramadan in a much bigger and a better way. This is Live Real Talk. My name is Faisal Kassim, and it has always been a pleasure to be your captain every single Thursday from 8:15 to 9 p.m. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.